Cool. So thanks to everybody who's on the call. If you're on phone and you have a question, just state your name before you ask the question, so we know who it came from. We have vendors on this call, and we also have a lot of the franchisees on this call, and a lot of people that have made this whole thing possible. When everybody came through our discovery day, we kicked things off with the core values, and I've made a commitment to everybody on this call that our core values are not just something that we put up on the wall for show. Like, we really truly believe in the things that make us what we are. And one of those core values for us will always be innovation. And so I think everybody listening to this knows the challenges that the entire country has had in terms of real estate, interest rates, supply chain. And we, I think, as an organization, have done a really good job pivoting when we've needed to. For those of you on this call who even first started off with Locate AI and then we moved to Morrow Hill, I think we all know the difference that some of these third-party vendors can have on our process. And so we are in a model that is very heavily third-party driven, and ultimately there are things that are out of our hands. But I know our guys in the office, Aaron, Cody, Brandon, Justin, everybody participating in this is always coming into work, trying to incrementally pull us all forward and figure out a way to get us to where we need to be. So I want to talk about something that we have launched as at the corporate level. It was very important for me to do this first before letting a franchisee kind of be a guinea pig on this, to make sure that it was feasible, and so that we've already kind of done the process of making it into a real thing. And so as we all know, the real estate part of this process has been very, very difficult. There's been a lot of gatekeepers. There's been a lot of people with a lot of landowners with FOMO that think their next phone call is coming from Starbucks or Popeye's chicken or whatnot, and have not pulled the trigger on deals with us that they otherwise normally would have. We've already starting to see that soften up because of 6% and 7% interest rates, and so now that those corner lots are looking a lot better. And so what we always want to do, though, is look for opportunities to give us an advantage over the other players in our space, as well as the other brands that are doing similar things. Every franchise quick service restaurant system that I know of is coming out with a kiosk version. And not to say that we invented the kiosk model, but it just seemed like very shortly after we launched the kiosk franchise model, you had a lot of frozen yogurt companies coming out with kiosk, and Panera and Chipotle and Taco Bell launched downsized kiosk versions of their brands, and Church's Chicken and all these other brands started doing these small kiosk type buildings, and I think that has increased the amount of competition for some of this space. So we've had to pivot and come up with some other ways to try to get these stores open, because at the end of the day, nobody wants these stores open more than us in the office. As an organization, that's the only way we make money, is if you make money. And so we're all pulling for that. So we came up with a product that one of our vendors, one of our fleet accounts here in Hanover, which is a fabricating company called Riley, they built us a product that we designed with a civil engineer that is designed to turn basically any space into a oil change facility. So basically, this product will allow us to convert. We had something very specific in mind, but at the end of the day, it can turn any bay of any facility, drive through or not, into an oil changing station. Just some statistics right now, because we have done some conversions. The 9 franchise locations that are open right now have all been conversions, but there are only 8,000 oil change facilities in the entire country. And most of them are occupied because it is a difficult business to fail at. And so a lot of the times these don't become available unless it's through attrition, which we are starting to see some of because of the the Jiffy Lube franchisees that are coming up on their second renewal, they're not doing a third renewal because they're either retired or they don't like the direction that the model is going with multi-care. So you have a lot of these original Jiffy Lube franchisees that started in 1979, 80, 81, 82, who are on their second 20-year renewal, and they're getting out. So that will increase conversion opportunities. But that being said, there are 60,000 self-service car washes. There's 250,000 buildings that are classified as auto repair buildings. And any of these bays could be converted into a quick lube with our oil change platform. The product itself is in line with our item 7. We are going to modify the item 7 for future franchisees. So for everybody on this call, this doesn't really apply. But the item 7 costs remain the same with this platform. It's just a piece of equipment. It definitely will increase the timeline. We're going to go over the timeline in a second. And then it also has the same unit economics as the kiosk oil change facility. So what problem are we trying to solve here? We're trying to resolve some of the real estate timeline. We're trying to create real estate variety, and we're trying to combat some of the increase in construction costs. I know Peter Colvin joined this call. I saw his name pop through, and obviously he's worked incredibly hard to keep what is typically $1 million facility below $400,000. And in this climate, with this inflation, with the labor costs, with everything that's going on, it's a testament to him and what he's been able to do. But the oil change platform does allow for the self-service car washes in particular, which is what we had in mind when we first thought of this product, to keep those costs down. So this is a look at the platform itself. This was the original sketch. Basically, you enter in on the fully formed side. You drive up. There's rails, there's guardrails, and the car will park on top. The tech will roll under. There's a fabricated drain pan that rolls back and forth, and it serves very similarly to the oil change facility, just without the ability to stand under it. You'll just be rolling under it and under the vehicle, and then they drive out the other side. Here is the first one that we had built. This is actually before it was painted and our logo was stamped on it, but you can kind of see what it's like. The total product is 10,000 pounds. And so it's not going anywhere. It can be fastened to the ground, but when I designed this with the engineer, we had it graded for a 18,000 pound load, which is a utility truck. We basically took our biggest fleet customer. We took their truck and based it on that, and it was a F-350 heavy duty utility truck that weighed with it fully loaded almost 18,000 pounds. So let's talk a little bit about the parameters of this program that we'll refer to it as. Is this mandatory for our franchisees are in the system? Absolutely not. If you're already way down the road, if you want a brand new building, if you don't want to participate in this is not mandatory. This is just something that we want to present as an option to try to combat some of the delays that have come with commercial real estate. Who is eligible? Everybody that has a territory sold that isn't open or doesn't have an LOI, or is a multi-unit. Can you do both? Yes, of course. So obviously some of our franchisees have stores open already that are multi-unit franchisees. If they choose to go forward with this for their second one, so they can have an idea if they like it or not, they certainly can. And you can also pursue the new build with Peter Colvin and his team, or the new build on your own, like some of our franchisees are doing with their own GCs and lenders. So more on the parameters, there's multi-faceted approach to this. You can own the property if you want to buy the property yourself. If you want to use Peter Colvin to buy the property and then give the money to retrofit a a car wash or an auto repair facility. You can lease the entire property. Obviously, these first two also result in needing to learn how to operate a car wash or finding a tenant to operate the car wash. And then the third option, which is really, the most interesting one to me, but probably the most difficult to establish for the people already in the system, is to lease a bay and retrofit one bay of an existing car wash. And I think this has the biggest latitude in terms of the width of how you can approach it. So Brandon did some research. I've talked to some landlords of mine because a couple of my facilities are actually attached to car washes already. The basic unit economics on self-service car washes in the East Coast and Midwest is they do about $300 to $500 a day in revenue for 7 to 9 months out of the year. So what opportunity does that present? Well, if you go and offer them $1,000 a month for a bay, guaranteed money, that is exceeding the median amount of revenue they can expect from a seasonal bay. Right now, private equity has made the tunnel car wash business so hot that it has actually suppressed the value of self-service car washes, and self-service car washes are needing to find alternate ways. And so a lot of them are adding touchless tunnels, but they're not the same as these big ones, these big multi-million-dollar tunnels that are going up across the country, which in my opinion is just as overheated as the self-storage business. I think there's about to be a crash in the car wash business, those big tunnels, but that's a completely different conversation. This is the timeline for the car wash that I bought. So again, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't want to go into this and just throw it out there and try to build the plane as we landed. I bought a car wash in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. I paid cash for it, and we started the process of converting it very quickly after. It was already zoned the way that Cambria County is designed, is car washes, commercial, automotive. It basically did not have to have a rezoning, which helped. That meant we were allowed to start working on it right away. And just a little bit about how I found the property. This was actually a distressed property from a gentleman. It's a long story, but long story short, it was an anesthesiologist that had 10 car washes, and he got indicted for fraud from the federal government, and the government was selling these properties for restitution for his victims. And I was able to buy this property for $70,000. And I don't expect that to be normal, but these are the kind of things that I try to keep an eye out for. It's definitely possible. But I see the vast majority of these properties for sale between $200,000 and $300,000. So this is the timeline. Can everybody see? Everyone sees the timeline up there right now?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. So it started with the process of sourcing the site, getting it under contract, and paying for it and owning it. So between the 24th and the 3rd of November is when we were dealing with trying to buy the property. But during that period of time, we were able to reach out to a concrete company because we still want to have a pit too. So one of the other problems that the oil change platform solves is it can get you open while you're waiting to get the permitting done for the pit. What we have found is a lot of these municipalities have a lot of questions about our pit, and that can drag out the process a little bit. And this actually can be a solution for getting open faster while you wait for that permitting to be done. Because it's a piece of equipment, there's no permit necessary. You can just start taking cars immediately while you wait to get your pit dug out. So we contacted a concrete company to get a quote and a timeline on having a pit dug out. Then we contacted the metal fabricator. We started the process for the oil change platform. We contacted a painter for the conversion. We went through all the process of closing on the property, requesting electric, water to turn on, signage, all that. Ordered our tanks. So all in all, from September 24th to December 7th was how long it took to get the building in car-ready operation. We have not applied for our certificate of occupancy yet. We're going to wait till the new year to do that. So it should be relatively shortly after that before we actually start taking actual cars. This is how it's set up. This was a rendering we had done to kind of show some of the vendors that we were dealing with, how we wanted to look. And this is kind of the end result where we're at right now with the Johnstown, Pennsylvania property. The Johnstown, Pennsylvania property, it's important that you convert the bay that is attached to the equipment room. Every self-service car wash has an equipment room. Sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes it's on the end. The reason it's important is your waste oil tank has to be in the equipment room, and typically there's a compressor in the equipment room, and so you need to utilize that. And so that's going to be part of the process of negotiating the lease. If you do go the lease route, you need to be able to have access to that equipment room. It typically has a bathroom in it as well. Here's just another shot. Obviously, you can see as it continues to go down, there's 5 other bays. So the car wash is barely impacted by the conversion of this one bay. The equipment, like I said, our item 7 remains essentially the same. We're going to try to get a leasing program in place where we can lease a platform, especially if you do want to have a concrete contractor dig out a pit eventually, and then you can just lease the platform from us in the meantime. And then once your pit is dug out, then we can remove it and we'll keep it here at the warehouse. The wall stacker tanks, I'm going to go back to this picture. You probably even missed it if you weren't looking closely. There's a company we struck a deal with called Fluidol that makes quick lube equipment, and they make these tanks called wall stackers, and they are perfect for this model because they are designed to be tall and skinny, as opposed to these ones from American Lubrication, which take up a lot of floor space. The internal setup of the bay that you convert is the same as the kiosk. So the actual UI UX of this program is the same with your oil tanks, your canister filters, your spin-on filters. The only real difference is you're going to have a waste oil tank off-site in the equipment room. Just real quick, I did put the item 7 on here for those who haven't looked at your FDD in a long time. This feels to me like a combination of a leasehold improvement and furniture and equipment. And so I think between that, we can figure out a way to make it work with these numbers. There's some other costs in there like transportation. It's very expensive. We are dealing with that right now. You do need to rent a forklift to get it off the back of the truck. But besides that, buying it is pretty straightforward. So now we'll just go straight into Q&A for those of you who are on the call. Michael, do you mind? You're really good at curating. Can you go down the list and just ask? Can you see the attendees, Michael? Michael might have stepped away. Oh, there he is.
Hey, Costa, sorry. Give me 1 sec here. I can. Yeah, thank you.
Just go down the line and ask anyone who has a question.
Great. Alan, you're on the line here. Alan Ford, do you have a question on the model? Yeah, Alan's still on mute. How about Andrew? Hi, Andrew. Andrew Thornton. You have a question on the model?
Hey there. Not off the top of my head right now. I'm just digesting it all.
Actually, Michael, it might be better just to do Spitfire. Anybody who's got a question, go ahead and shout it out.
I've got an email here. I can't see who it is, but it's Gene.
No, I don't have one right now. Thank you.
Okay.
Michael, hi, this is Peter Colvin with Easy Leasebacks.
Hey, Peter.
Hi, guys. Hello, everybody. Hey, just thanks for mentioning that we would be happy to buy these and help retrofit them and lease them to the operator. We're eager to do that. We've got a lot of money set aside for car wash conversions. And as you know, we can come up with adding the dollars they need to convert it for all the costs to the project cost and fund everything.
Peter, let me ask you a question. For those who are not interested in operating a car wash, do you have any contacts that could potentially lease?
It's Michael here. Hi.
Oh, Michael, I'm gonna go ahead and mute you because I think you are. Peter, did you hear my question?
Yeah.
For those who are not interested, if you do buy the full property, do you have any contacts that could potentially lease the car wash side as well to offset the total cost?
Yeah, there's some national companies that would look at management. And I'd encourage it's up to you guys whether this is something that makes sense, but I'd encourage the franchisee to learn that self-serve car wash business, as they'll be there on site. The biggest problem with the car washes is these are off-site owners and they have to go collect the money every day and fix equipment. So if they sell it to a franchisee or us for a franchisee, they can use, I think, are you going to be able to use the car wash to enhance the oil change by, giving free car washes or?
Yeah, so I am converting I own the whole property for this initial one in Johnstown, PA, and we are eventually going to have the car wash side of it operational. But that's up, on a day-to-day basis, my biggest priority is getting our franchisees open. So I'm not super pressed to learn the car wash business at the moment, but eventually that will be part of it for us. But I just know there probably will be some franchisees that don't have any interest in that business. And if you had contacts that would want to come in and lease it and rebrand it to their car wash business, that could help offset the cost.
Sure. We're open to that. We could probably figure that program out so that anybody that wanted to be in one of these, we would just have a car wash operator step in and lease from them. Is
Right.
that what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Perfect.
Anyone else have any questions? Just shout them out.
Hey, Costa, can you hear me?
Yes, who's this?
This is Andrew Thornton.
Hey, Andrew. Hey.
Hey, I probably missed this at the beginning. What is the cost of the platform?
So right now, what it cost us was $25,000. That being said, a chunk of that was the civil engineering stamp, which that cost is gone once the first one has been built. And so we're thinking that since Riley is a fleet customer of ours, we're working on getting an idea of how many of these we're going to sell over the period of a year, and they're going to give us as their best cost possible. And we're hoping it comes in at like 15.
Got it. Okay. So just thinking about like if we stumbled upon a site tomorrow or today or whatever, and like sitting out at LOI, I guess it'd be a similar. And if we wanted, Peter
20% down to get the process going. It took them 2 weeks to build it. And they have a period where it can sit at their lot before it has to be shipped out.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's great.
And just to kind of like fill some of the dead air until someone else comes up with a question, I plan on at the Johnstown, Pennsylvania site, we are going to do 2 bays of the car wash because it was a 5-bay total, I believe. And so that'll still leave 3 self-service car wash. It has a tunnel. It has a touchless tunnel on the end. And so that's interesting as well. But so there's a tunnel, which is one bay, and then there's 3 self-service bays, and then the 2 bays next to the equipment room are going to be the facility. And one of the bays, we're going to dig out a pit, and then, so like right now we're only doing 1 bay. We're going to open up as a 1 bay car wash conversion. But this second bay behind our box truck that you can see, we're also going to dig out the pit there and have both models shown. Because I do ultimately believe that having the pit is a better experience for the employees and a better experience for the customers. It just helps with a lot of different factors. And I'm happy to talk about that if anyone's curious.
Costa, this is Peter. I'll remind everybody too that we have a precast concrete pit that we're using in the kiosks that's shipped in one piece, and the municipalities really like them because they're fully self-contained and they don't worry about them leaking. So we can provide those to the car washes for those people that want to have the pits too. Comes with stairs and fan and everything.
Yeah, then so you probably would just have to find an excavation team at that point.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe we'll do that here at Johnstown, Peter. I'll talk to you about that offline
Perfect.
for that second bay.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I think this could really work.
So just to talk a little bit more about what we're going through, and we'll have updated pictures soon for everybody. Obviously, right now there's no garage doors. We were able to buy garage doors from Menards, and they actually were delivered in 10 business days. The only reason we didn't buy our garage doors from the ones that we bought for the kiosks was because we had to get 8-foot high doors, which is not ideal. I've gone to a lot of self-service car washes over the past 3 months, and the vast majority of them are 14 feet high, 14 feet wide. And so you could use 10 and 12-foot doors on those facilities. This facility just happened to be 10 foot high. And if you can see this beam at the top comes down 6 inches, that's actually a support beam. And so we couldn't do a 10-foot door. We had to do a 8-foot door. And the only place I could find them was Menards, and they were relatively cheap. So then we contacted a local garage door company, and they framed out the front and the back, and the garage doors are being installed. Brandon, are you still on the call?
Yep, I'm here.
What is the cost of the framing out of the garage doors and installation?
$1,500.
$1,500 total.
Yep,
And that's to frame it out and install the doors.
correct.
Okay. And we provided the doors. So I think if they bought the doors, they had like a 14-week backlog on their 8-foot high doors. So they told us, go ahead and buy them from Menards. And it worked out really nicely.
And then just to give you an idea, if you rent a forklift for it to be delivered on site, for a 1-day rental, you're looking about $600. So.
And that's from
Not,
Sunbelt. That's from Sunbelt Rentals, which is one of the larger
yeah,
ones. So you might have someone local that'll do it cheaper.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions about any of this? And we'll go ahead and put this recording up on YouTube and send it to the rest of the system.
Yeah, Costa, it's Alex. Hey,
Hey,
bud.
Alex.
Can you talk about the revenue expectations, car count, and labor model associated with this?
Yeah, so it's all in line with the kiosk. It's the same business model because the UI UX of it is the same. There should be no difference in your ability to service customers between this and the 1 bay. If you do a 2 bay, same goes for that. We will need to figure out a way to get from bay to bay, because typically these self-service car washes are each bay is closed off from the other, so there'd be some kind of a door that would have to be installed to go from side to side. But as far as the unit economics go, it should be the same. Now, one thing that is worth noting is self-service car wash businesses have been around for a long time, so it might not be the same quality real estate as a out parcel at Kroger's or a, parking lot at a Giant Eagle grocery store. So there is that factor to consider. But the capabilities remain the same.
Got it. Thanks.
Hey, Carl, it's Alan Ford here.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, I finally found my unmute button. I was trying earlier. This technical stuff. Anyway, coming from an IT manager, that's funny. My question is on the platform, time to service a vehicle, just curious, versus standing in a pit, servicing a vehicle and using the platform. Do you see a big difference in timing of those two?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, Alan, because definitely, as I mentioned, I think there is a discrepancy in the serviceability for your employees, because you're ultimately, when you do oil changes on your back on a creeper, you're limited to your mobility in terms of your arm, your wrist, your shoulder. There are some cars that might be difficult to get to the filter. This type of system is actually out there in the world. It's called the zip pit. The zip pit is a little bit different though, as it's a shallow pit that's dug into the ground. My contention always was, if you're going to dig into the ground, you might as well dig the full 5 feet so you can stand under the car. And that's a permanent alteration of the property, whereas this is actually a piece of equipment that you can move and there's no permitting required. So it definitely can impact speed, especially for a new employee who has to get used to navigating the engine bay on their back. One of our facilities in Dillsburg, Pennsylvania has a zip pit. I've done hundreds of oil changes in it. It's not fun, especially on a day like today in the Northeast and the Midwest, where cars are coming in with snow dripping off the frame of the car and it's getting on your face and your chest. And it's just, you're frustrated because the filter is, maybe it's behind the sway bar and you're laying there on your back. And I haven't done, ab workouts in quite some time, so I'm not as strong as I used to be and all that. So as far as topside is concerned, it doesn't impact timing at all. Topside's job is exactly the same. It's really bottom side where someone's just going to have to get used to navigating cars while laying on their back and reaching up into the engine bay. One thing I will say, though, that's a positive to this particular system is this makes it a lot easier to run a one-person shop if you feel comfortable doing that. Our industry, outside of Grease Monkey, everyone has always shied away from only allowing one person to operate a store. Typically, for the bigger models, if everybody called out and there was only one guy, even sometimes when there's only two guys, they'll shut the store down. But with this model, it actually makes it a little bit easier for one person to navigate the entire process a little bit easier. It definitely would be difficult to complete it by yourself in 10 minutes, even on a standard car like a Honda Civic, but it makes it possible. But that's a good question, Alan. Anything else before I let everybody go for the holiday? I know a lot of people already packed it in earlier this week, so I apologize for calling this late of a meeting.
No, I appreciate it, Costa. Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. Good.
Thanks.
Great solution, Costa. Yep.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone. Drive safe if you're in the Midwest or even Northeast, and hope everyone has a nice Christmas. And we're going to have a really, really big 2023 as an organization. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Thanks, Casa.
All right, thanks, everybody. Thank you.